guys to come in. Happy Thanksgiving. Um, my last live before the Thanksgiving holidays. Come on in. Good morning. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Hi, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Let me know if this is your first time so I can give you a shout out. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We're going to do something fun this morning. Um, Comment in the chat what's your favorite dish at Thanksgiving. For me, my favorite dish is jollof rice. So if you're not Nigerian or if you've not had jollof rice, you should definitely try it. Good morning, Aries from Jamaica. Hi, Mylan, first timer. Grow with Alicia from Brooklyn. Good morning. Good morning, Cleopatra. Good morning, Sheiks from New York. Sweet Emily from Melbourne, Florida. Good morning. Someone says, are we opening mail this morning? We're opening mail every day. As long as it's a work day, we're opening mail because there's always something in the mail. So Nash Lev from Texas, good morning. Taiwa Shumboy says, I love jollof rice with moi moi too. I love jollof rice with gizzard and dodo. Like that's my favorite Thanksgiving meal. My family doesn't really like turkey, so we've decided that we're not going to be doing turkey anymore just because, you know, it ends up getting wasted after the first night. So G Mortwin says turkey leftovers are his favorite. Oh my goodness. Proof Tango from Cameroon, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Joseph from Philly, St. Louis, Long Island. Someone said Eva and Ogbono. Oh, well, that's a good meal too, I guess. I don't really like Eba personally. I think it's too heavy. I prefer plantain, fufu, or pounded yam. Um, Napoleon, happy Thanksgiving in advance. Pray you have many more reasons to be thankful. Same to you as well. Good morning, Matthias says you're beautiful, Aisha. Thank you so much. Sexy Brecker from Orlando, Marcela from Sewanee. All right, guys. So let me introduce myself officially for those of you who don't know me. My name is Aisha Chidowe, and I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the United States with their immigration matters, family immigration, humanitarian based U visa cases, T visa cases, VAWA cases, consular processing, fiancé visas, um, and certain removal cases as well. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, call 407-995-6567, or you can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Um, Somebody's asking me if I can eat fufu. Of course I can eat fufu. I'm African. That's what we eat. And just by the way, since y'all are like my friends that I talk to, I went to the concert with David O this Saturday in Atlanta. And if you're a David O fan or you've been wanting to see him, it's definitely worth the show. I mean, he has everyone coming out, to perform with him, but it was a really, really good show. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. So Brown says, my VAWA case got transferred in a month and a half of it being filed to Nebraska. Do all VAWA cases get finalized in Vermont? Where did it transfer to? As now, and I have no clue. Would you know? Yeah, really, VAWA cases are processed in Vermont generally. So sometime. Was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year. They basically opened this Nebraska office to allow more cases to be submitted in Nebraska just because there was just a backlog in giving receipts. And so what ended up happening is um, they ended up opening the center. And so when cases are processed there, you'll get a receipt number from there, but ultimately your case will most likely be transferred to Vermont because that's usually where they make those humanitarian VAWA case decisions. So nothing to worry about. Sweet Emily says you're beautiful. Thank you so much. Rashida says repeat the number. Let me just write it down here. Calm. I'm gonna write it down and pin it. Sorry guys, I can multi type numbers and talk because it makes me confuse the numbers. So let me just type it. and then pin it. Pin. Okay, so now the number is pinned, and we still have a few more days, about 2 more weeks, to our 99 to our $99 consultation fees. And we just started our annual Thanksgiving sale. So if you qualify for a case of a certain type of case and value between now, it started yesterday, through the 30th, you're going to get 20% off, which is a steal. So definitely call the office, schedule a consult, and hopefully you would qualify for something. And then, if you already had a consult and you qualify for something, but you haven't hired us, this is a good time while we have this sale. All right, let me take some questions. Does USCIS issue 6 months prima facie and why? Yes, USCIS issues 6 month prima facie. So typically what happens is that the first prima facie you get is going to be a 1-year prima facie determination letter. Okay. After you get your 1-year prima facie determination letter, you will then start getting them renewed in 6-month increments. That's just how USCIS does it. You get them renewed in 6 months increments until they make a decision on your case. But that's just normal. My friend just separated from her husband because he's been abusing her. She's not received her 10-year green card. Should she file for a divorce or wait to see if the 10-year green card will come? Without scheduling a consultation with her, it's really hard to give any kind of suggestions just because I don't know what's going on in her case. I don't know if she filed for an application. I don't know if she's eligible for an interview waiver. So I definitely recommend she should schedule a consultation, because if she is eligible to self-petition because she's a victim of abuse, I am happy to represent her and get her 10-year green card that way. And just again, for those of you, because I saw a lot of comments last week asking what VAWA is. VAWA means Violence Against Women's Act. The act is for men, it's for women, it's for children, parents, and same gender, anybody. It's for anyone, as long as you've been married, you're married to a U.S. citizen, and you have you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and they have been abusive to you, and you can show that you have a good faith marriage and that you have cohabitated with that person. The second option is that if you are a child of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, parent or step parent, and you're under 21, and they've been abusive to you, you can get a 10-year green card that way. And then, of course, the final category is if you are a parent of a U.S. citizen child or stepchild who's over the age of 21, there are obviously certain other requirements. You can be eligible to get a 10-year green card that way. So those are the ways you can get it. And some people generally ask me, if my spouse and I have divorced, but after watching your video, I realized that my spouse was abusive and I never got a 10-year green card or a green card at all, and he never or she never agreed to file for me. One of the things that we want to calculate is from the time of your divorce. As long as you submit that application before the 2-year anniversary of your divorce, you're still eligible. After 2 years, you're no longer eligible. The same applies if your spouse passes away. If your spouse passes away and your spouse was abusive, you're still eligible as long as it's done before the 2-year mark. You can also technically file a widower petition if your spouse passes away. And again, you have that 2-year window. There are a lot of twos when it comes to immigration, okay? Marcella says, I'm a victim of violence with lots of evidence. I have a 2-year green card, but the husband made a false report of domestic violence. Do you believe I can still be eligible for a green card, 10-year green card? Absolutely. Absolutely. Call me. 407-995-6567. Happy to screen you. Even though you have a 2-year green card, and your spouse threatens you or tells you basically, I'm going to ensure that you don't get your 10-year green card, or they're making false accusations on you. There's so many ways to prove your character, to prove what is happening, because you can get your removal of conditions and your 2-year green card based on extreme cruelty and abuse. So that's one way to do it. And if your spouse is threatening you, because what a lot of abusive spouses do, or just mean spouses, is they'll tell you, I'm not going to file your removal of conditions for you. I'm going to divorce you. I'm going to divorce you to make sure that you don't get your green card. Here's the thing. Divorce is not something that stops you from getting a green card. As long as you can prove that your marriage was a real and a legitimate good faith marriage, you will get your green card. Okay? And we do this all the time, all day, every day. This is what I do. This is what I love to help people do. So happy to help if that's your situation. USCIS said they sent me an interview, but I didn't receive it, and they went ahead and denied my green card. But a few days after the denial notice, they again sent a notice they canceled the interview. Well, have you received your denial letter just to see what the denial is based on? So I'll say that's the first thing. And depending on what it is, there'll be different strategies that can be taken. You can call our office. We'll be happy to help you once you get your denial notice. If your denial was, if they actually really denied your case, because depending on what the reason for the denial is, then we would know whether we're doing a service motion, whether you need to do an appeal, or any of all that good stuff. Okay. Let me take some questions. Next. Cleopatra says, my friend I referred to your firm got his prima facie. He wants to know what's next. After his prima facie, it's really a waiting game. Most of our cases take 2 years to 2.5 years for them to make a decision. So prima facies usually come out earlier than that. So generally, once you get your prima facie determination, if you've not gotten your work permit or travel permit, or you got your prima facie first, you typically get your work permit and travel permit. Right now, they're given 5-year work permits and 5-year travel permits. And then you just wait until they make a decision on your case or until they request for additional evidence. I mean, we don't want them to request for additional evidence, but if they do, that's what's going to be next. But those will come closer to the decision-making time, because a lot of those applications just kind of stay dormant by the time they give them the basics, and then they're just kind of waiting back to be reviewed. Okay. Good morning. What if you have a current VAWA case awaiting approval and you haven't received a work permit? What can you do to get a license at the DMV? So with the DMV and licensing, every single state is different in how they process this. For instance, in the state of Texas, if you have a prima facie determination letter from your VAWA application, you can get a license with that. You used to be able to do that in Florida. I'm not actually sure now if you can still do it in Florida, since they passed some of those crazy rules earlier in the summer. I'm going to have to confirm that. But generally, each DMV will have on their website for for immigrants, or non-green card holders or U.S. citizens, what the requirement is. So if you're in one of those states where it allows you to get your driver's license with your prima facie determination letter, you can do that. I.e., Georgia is not one of those states. In Georgia, you got to wait for your work permit. Okay. Renetta says, good morning. It's her first time. Well, welcome, Renetta. We hope you stay. Good morning, Jesus. Okay, let's see what else. I'm trying to bring my sister from Lebanon. I applied in 2007. Is there a way you can help to bring her to the U.S.? I mean, we'll need to know what stage your sister is in. So if you applied in 2007, let me run my math real quick. 13. So 2010 to 13, 14. So 16 years. So you're just about at the cusp of your I-130 getting approved, assuming that's what you applied for, and you're just on the cusp of her being eligible to do her consular processing. But you can't do that until the visas become available. So the first thing to do is to check the visa bulletin to see what case they're processing. Again, I'm happy to discuss with you in a consultation just to see what the priority date is, so I can give you a realistic, timeline as far as when you might be eligible to start hers. Okay. Melanin says, but what if they pull your I-130 after divorce? I'm not sure I understand that question. I don't know if it's related to another question, so I'm not able to answer that. Can you speed up the process for removal of conditions? Because if you've received an extension letter for 4 years, so right now an extension for 4 years is standard, just because conditional green cards are taking about 2 years, 18 months to 24 months. That's on average for them to make a decision. That is why they're given those 4 year extensions. One of the things that you can do is, if you're eligible for citizenship, you can apply for citizenship. You apply for citizenship, at least you know that most likely within a year they're going to do a simultaneous interview for both the green card and citizenship. Most times, there's still some times where you schedule for citizenship and then you'll go to the interview, and then they'll only do the conditional green card and say they don't have the file or something like that for the citizenship. But most of the time, that can sort of push you to at least get both decisions made, at the same time. Um, my mom recently submitted documents for my sister and I. We're both unmarried and over 21. What's the possible time frame to expect any response from USCIS? So for you, you're looking at a longer timeline. I don't have December bulletin off head in my head, because this changes every month, but most likely about 8 years, 7 to 9 years, eight being the middle way, is what you're probably looking at. Okay. So this person says, what happens if you get denied for citizenship? Do you lose your green card? Not necessarily. It depends on why you were denied. So we'll need to understand why you were denied for citizenship, but you don't lose your green card because you're denied for citizenship. Those are two different things. Only an immigration judge will be able to terminate your green card. Okay. Simply Carrie says, can a disabled person assist in changing your status? I don't understand that question. Why wouldn't they be able to? As long as you're a US citizen and they meet the requirements, disability does not stop people from petitioning for anyone. They're human beings just like everybody else. Okay, so in context, so Demigirl said she did bad on the civics test, so that's why citizenship was denied. Yeah, they're absolutely not taking away your green card because you did bad on the civics test. And if the civics test is all you did bad on, it's not even anything to worry about. They're going to reschedule you for another interview in a couple of months just to come. If that is the only reason, they're going to reschedule you for another interview. Like a few months later, just to do the civics test portion, as long as you got the other part. One of the things I recommend for those of you applying to citizenship is for you to use the picture flashcards. I obviously don't have the link memorized in my head, but if you do a Google search and type in USCIS civic test flashcards, it should come up. It's like the red, but there's something about connecting words with pictures that I think helps people to remember more. Like I found that with my clients, whenever like they are struggling, we generally give this to all our clients, but like sometimes a client will say, oh, I already said I studied, and then I always quiz everybody before the test. Like I give them the tough questions, and once I see they're struggling, I ask them, did you do the flashcards? And they'll say, well, I didn't do the flashcards. I was like, go do the flashcards and you'll pass. Because those flashcards really help you remember. Like even my kids, like sometimes just for fun, because I'm just that nerdy, and because, they're kind of learning that in school right now. They'll quiz me on the flashcards. Like my daughter's going through, American history right now and the Civil War and all that stuff. And she'll be like, you're an immigration lawyer, mom, you need to know that stuff. So, I can't have my kids thinking that they're smarter than me. So, I definitely look at those two sometimes to remember stuff. But you'll be fine. Suzette Hibbert says, when filing for removal of conditions with the waiver, does it take a longer time because of the waiver? Honestly, all removal of condition cases take a long time. I've never really seen any demarcation. They're going to be, with every single case, there's always going to be those who are really lucky, and their officer or their filing and their cases just move really quickly. And then there are going to be those, whose cases move slower. But most people will fall in that 18 to 24-month range. Most, maybe like 80%. I filed an I-90 card replacement due to typographical error. How long should I wait to get a new card? A long time, a long time. Go get an added stamp on your passport because you will be waiting a long time, about a year or more. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, my time is moving so fast. Please repost this live. I will. I took too long to send my medical and they denied my green card. What do I do now? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What you can do is you're going to have to reapply for your I-485 and submit your medical at that time. I recommend that over the appeal, just so that you have a valid work permit. You're able to get a valid work permit and travel permit, because sometimes, with appeal, where you want to, do a motion to reopen or reconsider, it can take a longer time, and not being able to work, it's annoying. But you can just send just your because I don't know what kind of case you had, but if you had a marriage-based case and your I-130 was already approved, just add your I-130 approval notice, submit a new adjustment of status application with your medical. All right. I've put in my first set of papers to change my status on my marriage base, and I haven't received any reply. Is that normal? Normal will depend on when exactly you put it in. So I don't know the date that you put it in. So I can't really tell you whether it's normal or not. What is the process like if you do a consular interview for a green card abroad before the medical? So the process generally for consular is that you first do your I-130. Once your I-130 is approved, USCIS moves your case over to the National Visa Center. At the National Visa Center, that's where they collect all your critical documents. So, that's where you put in your police clearance. That's where you put in basically all your address history, any clearance from anywhere you've lived after the age of 16, all the biographical data, social media handles. Yes, typically they do want your social media handles if you're outside of the country, and stuff like that. And after that, then they will then give you what we call a documentary qualification if they feel that you have your document. Oh, well, and that's also when you submit your financial affidavit of support. So if you're documentary qualified, what will happen is they will place you in queue for a consular processing interview at that time. And then the queue can take as long as a year, 2 years. Less than that, it can take 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. It just depends on what country you're coming from. So that's kind of how the process works. When they schedule you for your interview, or tell you, that's when you want to go do your medical in your home country or the country where you're processing. Okay. One more question, then I gotta bounce. Good morning. Let me see. After getting a 10-year green card based on marriage, how long before filing for citizenship, please? If you are doing it based on marriage, 3 years is a timeline that you're looking at. 3 years that your spouse has been a U.S. citizen, 3 years that you've been married to your spouse, 3 years that you've had your green card. And then you can apply it as early as 90 days before the 3-year anniversary. Of course, there are other things they're going to be looking at: your travel history, your arrest history, your child support history, your tax history. They're going to be looking at all those things. But from an eligibility standpoint of timeline to start looking at those things, it's 3 years. If it's not based on marriage or not based on VAWA approval to a U.S. citizen or conditional green card approval based on a waiver or joint, then everything else is 5 years. All right, guys, I got to jump off. I have a consultation right now. But I wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you have many things to be thankful for this year. If you are someone who has been having a tough time and you feel like you have nothing to be thankful for, be thankful to be alive and here and well. And, it says, everything will be brand new in the morning. It will be well with you. And I will talk to you guys next week. Have a great time. Bye.